As always, thanks for stopping by.
But that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.
Dokkan, now basically coming up on its 10th year anniversary, which is insane to say, has been around for obviously a very long time. Of course, a game with that much history isn't going to have, just perfect, flawless units that, everyone in the community loves and glazes until Kingdom Come. There are obviously going to be some, duds and forgettable units in there. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Today we're going to be counting off the top 10 most forgettable units in Dokkan history. Now, coming in at number 10, we have the ROF Blues. Now, it's kind of sad to say this because the ROF Blues do have some, really good animations, especially that intro animation. That, chef's kiss. The exchange isn't bad either. And like the flips when, Goku is kicking during his animation, the 1-inch punch. It is tough. But unfortunately, they're kind of just forgettable outside of that, right? Their kit is just pretty pedestrian, kind of pathetic. They don't do anything cool. They don't have any tech. They were kind of basically mid on release. I don't want to say mid, they were good, but like you can see like where they were gonna fall off. Like the writing was already on the wall for them on release, which is never a good thing. I mean, nothing was even that bad about them, right? It's just that they were just not great at anything. They weren't like amazing at anything. Vegeta, he get guaranteed crits with 4 rainbow key spheres, but of course he only created his own key spheres for 3 turns, which is just, okay. He could be solid defensively and he could put up some solid damage, but he just wasn't anything special. I only put him at number 10 mainly because of how, the animations are just so pretty. And I'm not gonna lie, even over a kit, animations are probably even more important than a character's kit, which is funny to say, but animations really do just carry this game. But they're gonna come in at number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Now, coming in number 9, it's a unit that was actually pretty, solid, but they kind of released next to a behemoth, right? That is Physical Broly. Yeah, he obviously released next to the monster that is AGL Super Vegito, and this guy was basically irrelevant next to him in comparison. Broly was basically the ugly stepchild, and nobody cared about him because everybody wanted Vegito. At least he got a, solid easy A, but there was just nothing just insane about him. Like how Vegito just had the broken, nasty, disgusting counters with the 80% damage reduction. But yeah, kind of enough said. These really old units, there's not really much to talk about with them. That's going to be Broly. He's going to come on at number 9 for you people who say I don't put older units on these lists. All right, here you go. Let's move on to number 8. Now coming in at number 8, it is AGL Kale. She kind of was just a unit that never was. She's pretty good, honestly, or she was pretty good, honestly. But she kind of fell through because there were no good slot 1 units in the game on her team. And until she transformed on turn 4 with a Caulifla, or after performing 6 or more super attacks in battle, she was just, gonna get torn to shreds in slot 1. Honestly, they kind of fell through with not giving LR, AGL, Kale, Caulifla like maybe guard for 5 turns on their EZA, and this unit would have been a very good unit and probably well remembered. Especially because their Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2 transformation of Kale, very good. Can get guaranteed guard with the Universe 6 category ally, good defense, can look very impressive. But yeah, it's just, it is what it is with Kale, man. They kind of missed the mark, and she's gonna pay for it. That's gonna be Kale. She's gonna come in at number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Now, coming in at number 7, we have 2 units, and that is the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4s. They were they caught a little buzz when, Dokkan released them on Twitter, I believe, or X, I guess. And, it's like, wow, Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4s, that's super cool, what a cool form. And then you saw, at least for me, I saw their animations, and I was like, okay, I don't care. And then, of course, you see their kits, and then, you actually use them in game, and you're like, oh, wow, these guys actually are just atrociously terrible and are just a collector's item, especially Vegeta. Like, Goku could look okay with the damage reduction and the defensive support, but Vegeta was just completely shafted. Goku's not good anyway, so, don't get me wrong. But if Goku is bad, Vegeta is terrible. Needless to say that if you were taking these guys into, the Metal Cooler Core fight, you were getting, ass blasted. Metal Cooler was going to rip these guys a new fatality because they suck. So, I mean, they're just, a cool little collector's item. Wow, you got them. Maybe they'll get an easy A next year. Wow. But other than that, trash. They're going to come in at number 7. Let's move on to number 6. Now, coming in at number 6, we have the Int Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. This guy kind of just came out at an odd time. I remember his EZA coming out just a bit after the 5th year anniversary, which, had the blue fusions, which were just mega super hype. And Final Trump card kind of just dominated the entire team. I mean, the entire landscape at that point. It was the best team in the game. Or, whatever you want to call it. Last resort, whatever. And this guy was just kind of like, who cares? Like, that's what I describe him as. Like, who cares about this guy? Like, I think he could get, some solid use in the Legendary Goku event. The Realm of Gods, I believe, had a mission. You could bring him on the AGL Zamasu team and you could kind of do some stuff. But, I mean, he was just kind of like a whatever unit. And I wasn't even pretending to play when he, first came out. But, the council on the algorithm, they came together and said, not really anything promising about this guy when he first came out either. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not here to, conjecture onto the council and the algorithm. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, Vegeta, I mean, okay. Right. I like putting these, older units on here, give them just a little bit of shine. Even this is kind of a negative, connotative list, but whatever. That's going to be Int Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. He's going to come in at number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Now, coming in at number 5, we got the Exchange Future Gohan and Trunks LR. So they're kind of just a very wonky unit. I mean, solid, but you had to jump through a lot of hoops to make them good, right? So they created themselves key spheres, and they got a tiny bit of damage reduction with some defense and attack, additional super attacks, in base, and then you could exchange on turn 3 if you took a bunch of damage, which you could say that's, relatively solidly likely with the what was the hard stage at the time, the GT Legendary Goku event. And then, you could transform into Future Gohan, and then you have no defense because Future Gohan doesn't have any defense. His entire gimmick is to say that, you just die right away. But you kind of got to get lucky. You got to throw him in slot 1, hope there's attacks in slot 1, and get him killed. You should be able to foresee the enemy's super attack, right? Because you have to exchange at 58% or less, so you should be able to have a scouter. And then he dies. He gets 58% damage reduction, 58% defense permanently, which is good. But then you kind of still need ki. And him not creating his own key spheres anymore kind of hurts. Like, he still gives himself a bunch of ki, but I mean, the 8 ki will run out. Like, I remember this guy on the Hybrid Saiyan team, and he kind of, I didn't want to say he didn't fit the mold, but he kind of didn't, right? Because the Hybrid Saiyan team is just a super tanky team where you're not really taking damage. And then this guy, you want to take damage. It was just a really odd fit. If you jump through all his hoops, though, he could be, potentially, he could get splash good usage. I mean, it was 2021, definitely better than 2020, but the last bit of 2021 just felt odd. Especially, then the red zone came out and he kind of just got he was just instantly dead, right? It's okay. He came out and kind of did something for 3 weeks. Wow. He's going to come in at number 5. Let's move on to number 4. Now, coming in at number 4, Ain't Goku and Piccolo, not really sure. I guess they were good, but they were very limited, had really weird usage, had no categories when they first came out, didn't really fit well on many of their teams, many of their few teams. They had good super attack effects, which was something, right? They lowered attack and defense on their 18 ki, which was nice. They had some cool animations, they built up, and they could triple super, but that triple super was based on 59% or less HP and 6 or more attacks. That's just a terrible restriction. Their additionals were guaranteed normals, but I mean, I guess they had their active skill turn. They got to attack 6 or more times, and they, 59% or more HP. They got 6 ki and 59% attack and defense for the turn, which, I mean, on that turn, they were pretty good. But I mean, other than that, they were kind of just a whatever unit, right? A super forgettable, easy skip. This mid to late June releases, free a skip of your life right before Tanabata, which was that was Tech Gogeta that year, and you're out of your goddamn mind if you were skipping. I mean, if you were summoning for this guy to to not get Gogeta. Like, everyone wanted Gogeta. Heck, Gogeta was that guy, despite all, the restrictions and all that nonsense. The animations were supreme. They were still a good unit. Literally wiped out of everyone's mind 2 weeks after they released. Literally. They're going to come in at number 4. Let's move on to number 3. Now, coming in at number 3, it's a unit that just got their EZA, and their EZA is also pretty forgettable, but, it's LR, Krillin, and Gohan. They came out for part 2 of the Namek, Goku, and Full Power Frieza Worldwide Download Celebration of 2021, and they kind of just are a forgettable unit, if I'm not mistaken. They had the costume change. Were they okay, I think they're one of like 4 units in the game to have it. What is it? Videl, these guys, and then that free-to-play Saiyaman. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, cool. They had an active skill, turn 3, 24 key for the turn. Like, ooh, pretty cool. They could quadruple super, have like a 50% chance to dodge, 70% chance to dodge sometimes. They got the LR Gohan mechanic. I mean, admittedly, they were just super forgettable LR. Like, I mean, it's Krillin and Gohan. Nobody really cares about them on Namek, admittedly. I'm sorry. I know they were important to the plot and all, but nobody's watching the Namek arc and remembers them. Their costume change didn't really change anything. And their EZA is also kind of just like, I mean, it's just a solid EZA kind of, right? Mid to solid. Yes, the costume change does give them a little bit of a stats increase overall. You can see their pre-EZA, you can see their little bits of differences. Very minuscule changes, obviously. Just kind of forgettable. I mean, I'll admit, I honestly forgot these guys got an EZA. But, I mean, it is what it is. They're going to come in at number 3. Let's move on to number 2. Now, coming in at number 2, it is LR, Tapion, and Minosha. Now, besides their OST, which, I mean, their OST is just amazing. One of the better ones in the game, for sure. They are just kind of just whatever outside of that, right? First of all, it was bad 3 years ago. It's bad a year ago. And it's terrible today. No defense on any super attack effect. Just atrocious. Just horrible. There's no defending it. It's terrible. Now, they do give storied figures, and siblings bond category allies, which is the team they lead. They give them 2 key and 20%. So they give themselves 4 key and 40%, which is, pretty good. Solid. 170%. That's like what LR Super 17 gives himself, and he's relatively solid, even despite my personal disgraceful vendetta against him. Well, not my vendetta is not disgraceful. My personal vendetta. Whatever. You get what I mean. They also get a medium chance of performing an additional super attack, and then they get 13% damage reduction within the same turn after performing a super attack. So basically, they can get up to 39% damage reduction, which is just, that's not good. 39% damage reduction is basically, I mean, even then, it was basically just like almost negligible. And then, of course, it's behind a medium chance to perform an additional super attack, which is, not an additional normal with 30% chance. It's just a 30% chance to launch it or nothing. So that also made the hidden potential super attack effect that much harder to activate if you, for some reason, had them with dupes. I mean, I don't know why you ever summoned for this guy, but whatever. They had a pretty solid active skill. Removes all negative effects. I believe that, cancels the no switching, which I don't think there was any like big time no switching fights when they came out. I guess you could say Belmod in the God event, he could cancel or, lock you. And then they give all allies 3 key and 20% active skill buff for the 2 turns, which is good. And you could basically activate that if you had a Tapion on the team, because there needed to be a story figures ally and a sibling bond ally, which could not be themselves, starting from turn 4. So if you had, HL Tapion's EZA, which was pretty good at the time, you could activate this. But I mean, they were just super forgettable, throwaway unit that nobody cared about besides their OST. I'll glaze that OST. Anyways. Yeah, they're going to be, Tapion Minosha, number 2. Let's move on to number 1. Now, coming in at number 1, this is a unit that I actually literally, when the council and the algorithm were conferring and constructing this list, I stunned that this unit even came out, right? SGR, Piccolo, and Gohan, the exchange unit. This unit is not bad. it's just the epitome of like whatever unit. Like they could be good. Like in slot 1 and slot 2, they got 40% damage reduction when HP is 70% or more. So I mean, if God forbid HP is under that, I mean, then you could, revive. In slot 3, they give super class allies 1 key 30% attack and defense for 3 turns, which it's pretty nice. And they give Bond of Master and Disciple, Saiyan Saga allies 2 key 30% stats, which is solid. And then their revival condition if HP is 70% below start a turn, or it's turn 7, which a nice little backdoor effect to have. If you die on that turn, you revive 70% HP as Kid Gohan. And Kid Gohan, he comes in, his first turn he does a lot of damage, guaranteed crit. And then once you lose that, he kind of is just like a mid unit, I guess, mid to solid unit. And then he got power cliffed by the 9th year anniversary power creep, which is just a very rampant power cliff. But yeah, he was just a super forgettable unit. Like Piccolo and Gohan are obviously super hype, even though it's Saiyan Saga and they're a big part of that. Like nobody really cares. Sorry. I kind of feel like they got actually, now that I think about it, if you start the turn at 100, 80% HP, you get one shot and die, they have no damage reduction. And they're just like paper mache defensively. They got it with this one. Maybe I'm being a little harsh on Gohan too, because he does have guaranteed dodge. I love dodge. And he's got a 50% from there. But like I said, right, once the 9th year anniversary came out, these guys just got eviscerated. I think when they came out, you could probably say they were probably maybe a 5th best TUR, and they're probably when Saiyan Saga Vegeta came out, because between there's not that many TURs that released, right? There's probably New Year's, right? There's New Year's, and then there's no TURs in all of February and January, and then Saiyan Saga, yeah. So not that many TURs came out, and you could were they 12? They were just, I don't know. It wasn't good for them. It is what it is with Kid Gohan, though. He was good, I guess. But that's going to be Kid Gohan. He's going to come in at number 1. He's going to round off my list. Let me know what you thought of my list down below, whether you thought it was perfect, as the algorithm would surely have it so. Gosh, that's such a bar. Not to glaze myself, but... Let me know if you thought anybody was snubbed, or if you think that the order should have been different. But just so you know that if you disagree with me and the algorithm, you are, of course, wrong. But that's going to do it for me. As always, thanks for stopping by.